patience with setting things up. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Vasatara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Hare Krishna Go Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Mathura Dhama Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai Gangamai Jamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Praskatade Sutta Manchakapachupestra Kripasinthya Vachapatitanam Pavanavya So if you can imagine that your daily life has come to include all the activities you've always dreamed of, that you love the work you're doing, what you're producing, and you're making a meaningful contribution, that you have the types of prosperity that enrich you and that you joyfully share with others. So this is the concept behind Career Dharma, and we look at identifying our ideal career field and prosperity type, learning the secrets of making our work deeply meaningful, progressing toward dharmic mastery, and then the whole system for peace and prosperity. Maybe we could bring the flip chart back in here. So again, we're looking at 9 principles of career dharma. And if we could all read these with me. Connecting our nature with our livelihood, advancing through life while nourishing our nature, extending our prosperity to others, ethical and meaningful work of value, delight in cherishing our prosperity and field of work, having celebrations of the sacred in our life and work, above the shades of ego, maintaining societal balance, cooperation between the fields and competition within the fields, all-inclusive sustainable prosperity. And at least in English, when you put this together, you spell career dharma, which is very exciting. So the classes that we did in depth the last 2 days, I'm going to go over that material extremely quickly. And I'm going to spend more time on the material we did not cover on Saturday and Sunday. So if you were not here on Saturday and Sunday, I would suggest that you try to watch those online. I mean, I will be touching it, but I'm just going to touch it. It's just going to be a quick review. Also, we do have the book available today in Bhaktivedanta Library Services. So you can get yourself a copy of the book. It's also available on Amazon in print and ebook, and soon audiobook. The audiobook's done, we just have to get it up online. So first we're going to look at identifying our prosperity type and career field, which is principle 1, connecting our nature with our livelihood. So often we think of career success as just being about money. And I'm going to ask again, because some people haven't been here over the weekend, so I hope you don't mind if I do some of these things again. Have you ever met anyone, heard of anybody, read of anybody, know anybody who didn't have a lot of money but had a rich life? And have you ever met anybody, heard of anybody, read of anybody who had a lot of money and an impoverished life? So somehow we all know that there's not a one-to-one equivalence between feeling that we have a rich, prosperous life and having money. And we're not discounting that everybody needs money. They didn't give me this computer for free. I had to pay for it with money. So we need to have some money. But that's not the be-all and end-all of prosperity. And we looked at the 6 ways of being rich. You're looking at my computer. We looked at the 6 ways of being rich, and we'll go through these again very briefly. And I think most of you ended up with your list, your prioritized list. Yes. And if you want to go more deeply into this in the book, it's in chapter 2. And we have an exercise in Appendix A, where you can look at different careers and identify what types of prosperity are coming from those careers. And then we have an exercise in Appendix B, which is like what I did up on the board with that one gentleman, where you put these in order and then you actually compare them to see what's your priorities. So the first is Aishvarya, which comes from the Sanskrit word Ishwar. It means a controller. So this is people who have positional leadership. Positional leadership can also refer to money or luxury that's used for control. So some way in which you have positional leadership. Now, some of us really thrive when we have a situation of organizational or positional leadership. We really like helping other people to succeed, putting people in places according to their talents, organizing and allocating resources and putting things together, right? So, like, I do have one friend who told me that she loved it when she got out of marketing and sales and helped other people to become successful and manage other people. And I said, how many people are you managing? And she said, 50,000. So that's something that really makes some of us feel very prosperous. Wow, I'm actually helping to organize all, and other people don't like this. Other people want to just manage themselves. And I know of people who, when they're put in a position of management and leadership, they actually become ill and exhausted. And so if you can think, when you've had this kind of situation in your life and when you haven't, and what are the effects on you? What happens in your life when you have this and when you don't have it? And the next is Gyan. So Gyan is knowledge. So a lot of us want jobs that fill us with constant learning. We're insatiable curiosity people, and if we're not constantly learning things in our job, we feel like we're just drying up. There's other people who don't want work like this. I've given in-service training to teachers who say, why do I have to keep learning? I already know all the skills I need for my work. And then there's some of us who are kind of in the middle. So I'd like you to think of when you had some work that forced you to keep learning as part of your work, when you had work that didn't. How do you feel when you have it, and how do you feel when you don't have it? And the next is Virya. So this is health and strength. So I know some people who love their job because it's very physical. Like I have a friend who works in construction. He loves the physicality of the work. I remember talking to someone here years ago who said she loves taking care of the cows because it involved a lot of walking and physicality. I also have a friend who runs an Ayurvedic restaurant, and one thing she likes about her work is she eats all Ayurvedic food. So some of us have careers that intrinsic to the career is some aspect of health and strength. Others of us don't want to have this as part of our career. We want to just do mental work in our career, and we want to use physicality as a break from our work. We don't want it as part of our work. So I'd like you to think when you've had some aspect of virya as part of your work, when you haven't had it, what happens with you, how do you feel when you have it and when you don't have it. And the next is Shri. So Shri applies to, it really means kind of glittery splendor. And it can really be talking about any kind of beauty. So this can mean visual beauty, auditory beauty, olfactory beauty, tactile beauty, beauty of nature, and it can also refer to charismatic leadership, which is different from Aishvarya, which is controlling leadership. So some of us really want Shri as a part of our work. Maybe we like to work outside in the garden with nature. Maybe we like to do a lot of work with music. Maybe we want to work with perfumes. Maybe I have a friend who weaves and dyes textiles. Or maybe we want some position of charismatic leadership where we're influencing others and guiding others, although we don't have any positional authority over them. And then some people really do not want this as part of their work. They just want to be practical, and they find having to deal with Shri as an annoyance. And of course, there are people who are sort of ambivalent. If you can think of any time you had any type of Shri in your work, when you've had it, when you haven't had it, how do you feel when you have it? How do you feel when you don't have it? And then we look at Yasha. Yasha is fame, but it's fame for righteousness. It's not just fame. Yasha is actually a person who's the child of Kirti and Dharma, talking about someone because they're righteous. It implies that you have a supportive community as part of your work, that you're working with teams who are appreciative, who acknowledge other people's work. They're not just task-focused. And there are many people who only thrive with yasha in their work. I know of some people that if you ask them to get something done on their own, they find it difficult to be productive. But when they're part of a supportive team that's really acknowledging each other and admiring each other, then they can immediately be very productive. And other people don't want yasha as part of their work. They want to work alone, or if they're working with a team, they just want it to be completely task-focused, and they want their socializing to happen outside of their work. They want there to be a clear demarcation, and other people are more ambivalent. I know when I taught this in Zurich, actually one of the organizers of the program came up to me afterwards and said, I realize that without yasha, I really can't function in my work. So I'd like you to think about when you've had this as part of your work, when you haven't had it, how do you feel, what happens in your life when you have it or when you don't have it. Then we come to vairagya, perhaps the strangest of the prosperity types. It literally means without attachment. And sometimes people think that's kind of an anti-prosperity, but it is a way of feeling rich for some people. Freedom and equanimity. So this may involve jobs with a flexible schedule, a job where you can ride a bicycle to work and you can have very minimalist lifestyle. Maybe a job where you're always traveling, living out of a little suitcase. Maybe a job where you're very detached from the social and emotional aspect of life. Something where there's a tremendous amount of freedom and equanimity and detachment. Now again, some people don't want this as part of their work. There are some people who really want security and stability and a regular schedule, and they're not really into a minimalist lifestyle. You know, they want to have a house with a bookshelf on every wall and beautiful sculptures in their house and things of this nature. And this is not the way that they want to live. Going through everything and ending at 9, my ability to really take questions and discussions for this is going to be extremely limited. So I tried to do that more on the weekend, and especially yesterday I left a whole half an hour for discussion. But unless it's something like really like intense, I don't have time today, I'm sorry. So I'd like you to think of when you had that and when you didn't have it in your work. How do you feel what happens to you when you have vairagya, and how do you feel and what happens to you when you don't? And again, if you want to go more deeply, we spent a whole hour on this on Saturday. If you want to go more deeply into this, again, it's chapter 2 in the book, and Appendix A has a list of all different jobs, and you evaluate what forms of prosperity they're getting from their work, and then we have another appendix, I can't remember the letter of it, I think it's C or D, that gives you the answers with explanations. And in Appendix B, we have that exercise we did on Saturday where you order these in order of importance, and then you evaluate your order and see if you want to make some change in that order. And most people have 2 or 3 of these that are really important to have in their work. What's interesting about the prosperity types is you can have careers that look very different from each other, but are giving you a similar type of prosperity. And I gave the example on Saturday of the traveling musician and the national park tour guide, right? He changed from one career to the other, but he was getting the same prosperity types in each field, in each work. So then we looked at work according to the 4 fields, which we have up here on the flip chart. And we asked that even those of you who know the Sanskrit names for these, that you sort of put that aside, since we may have prejudices or misconceptions about these. This is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Lord has divided all the different types of work into these 4 fields. And my co-author, Dr. Ruchira Datta, and I spent a lot of time really meditating on and studying and researching what was the reason. Why take all the different kinds of work that you can do and put them into these 4 categories? Now, one reason is that these categories are stable. They always exist in human society. There are always jobs in these 4 fields and always people with the temperaments of these 4 fields. Whereas specific careers come and go. Like there was no software engineer job 200 years ago, right? And there aren't that many jobs being a blacksmith at the modern time. But these 4 fields are stable. The other main reason is that the Dharma or the value of these fields are different from each other. And it is in this way that the Vedic wisdom gives some benefit to society that, as far as we know, is not available any other place. Generally, if people talk about work ethic or ethics in work or having values of work, they speak about it monolithically, as if work ethics and work values were the same for everyone, regardless of what they do. But according to the wisdom literature of the Vedas, like the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, that is not the case. The Dharma for each of these fields is different from each other. They have some Dharma in common, which we will also cover, but they also have distinctly different Dharma, and there's distinctly different temperaments of people that are suited for each of these fields. Now, unlike the prosperity types, in which case we probably have 2 or 3 that are very important to us, we will only be in one field. 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 Can I be in 2 fields? No. You can be. No. You can be in one field that particularly assists another field. So you might be situated in government, but you're really helping the artistry people. Or you may be in artistry and you're really helping the government people. So you can be in one field that's really assisting another field. But your own work is only going to be in one field. So we're going to fly through the definitions of the field and the definitions of the temperament, since I spent an hour and a half on each of these over the weekend. Okay, field of artistry. This is the field that gives support to the society. It supplies all the beauty, all the support, all the pleasures of society. Okay? Somebody tell me some careers in this field. Huh? Dancers, most, not all. Huh? Theater, most, not all. Most musicians, not all. Athletes, professional athletes, yes.
Painters.
Huh? House painters.
No.
Fine art painters, most, not all. House painters, yes. Construction workers, yes.
Plumbers.
Huh?
Plumbers.
Plumbers, yes. Carpenters, yes.
Surgeon.
Surgeons, yes.
Poets.
Poets, some, not all.
Poets.
Poets, you said. Some, not all. Architects, yes. What else?
Clerks.
Huh?
Clerks. Employees.
Clerks, yes.
Yeah.
How did you say clerks?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
From here.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, is that a Dutch accent for clerks?
Very French.
Yeah, even if you're in the UK, you know, if you're from England, you may not understand the Scottish accent. And if you're in Scotland, you may not understand the Irish accent. Right? And sometimes when I'm in Australia, I'm like, I remember when I first heard them saying controversy. I'm like, what? Oh, controversy. Okay. Okay, now the temperament of the people who work in this field. Someone tell me something about the temperament of the people who work in this field.
Honest.
They're honest. Honest about what?
About the details of their work.
About the details of their work. They're going to say, this is how much the pipe cost me, here's the receipt, and this is how much my labor cost. They're going to say, this is what's wrong with your car, and this is not what's wrong with your car. They're going to be honest about that. This is the quality of the sheetrock I'm putting up on your wall. Right? What other qualities do people have who are suited for this field? Huh? They want to please customers or clients. They want to please the customer or the client, and getting appreciation and recognition from the customer or the client is just as important to them as getting paid.
Sensitive.
I don't know about sensitive, but the people, they have to be somewhat into providing sensory pleasures for the society. They may not necessarily be sensitive.
Passionate about work.
That should be true for all of the 4 fields. By the way, are wrong answers as much learning as right answers? 1, 2, 3? Yes.
Detail oriented, no?
That could be any of the 4 fields. Huh?
Service attitude.
A service attitude, yes.
Concrete.
Thank you for translating that. Very concrete. This is a very concrete field. What constitutes excellence in the work, how you get your training is very concrete. It's very known. How do you train someone to be a carpenter? There's a known procedure. And what is a table? I mean, this table has 1 leg and that has 3, but you still know it's very, very concrete. It's not an abstract. What is a table, really? It's not like that. Okay? Anything else you can tell me about the temperament of people suited for this field? Like to serve, yes. Satisfied. These people are naturally satisfied. What are they satisfied with? They're satisfied with their service attitude, but also
Simple pleasures.
simple pleasures, yes, simple pleasures and comforts of life. These people, they want a comfortable home, good food, nice clothes to wear, loving people in their life. And if they can have that, and they can hone their craft or their service, they're getting appreciation, they're paid a decent wage, then they're not ambitious for more than that. I mean, they might not mind if they got a lot of money, but it's not something they're going to be working hard for. You follow? So in that sense, these are very satisfied people. Okay? And what are the questions they ask about their work?
Are you happy? Is it useful?
What are the questions they ask about their work?
Is it beautiful?
Is it beautiful? Is it supportive? Have I made the world more beautiful? Have I helped support people? Have I been a supportive person? These are the people who provide the foundation for the work in the world. And if you go to people who are working in this field and you say to them, thank you for making the world more beautiful, or thank you for making the world work better, they will be very, very happy. Because this is how they evaluate their work. What are they willing, those who have dharmic expertise in this work, what are they willing to sacrifice for?
Prestige.
No, never. No. They're satisfied people.
The beauty of your work.
Yes, the quality and integrity of their craft and service. Even if someone's pushing them to make more money or to work faster. Right? I gave that example, the restaurant I saw once that had a sign, we make slow food. If you want fast food, go down the street. So even if someone's pushing them for efficiency or higher profits, if they have dharmic expertise, they will sacrifice for the quality and integrity of their work or service. Okay? We're going to go on to ideas. So ideas provide the wisdom, truth, guidance, vision of society. And generally they do this through language or through mathematics, but sometimes through the fine arts. So you're going to have some painters, musicians, actors, dancers, poets, etc., who are actually in the field of ideas rather than the field of artistry. That's a minority.
Like a coin. I
There's a machine outside, and you're being over there. I actually can't hear you.
I was just saying, initially I was thinking about a poet named Leonard Cohen, who was having so many wonderful ideas.
Okay.
And that's the reason I...
Well, there are. I mean, if you're writing poetry like, you know, cherry blossoms come in the spring, and the river flows gently as I sit and drink my tea. That's in artistry. But if you're writing poems about philosophy and wisdom and truth, that's ideas. So most, you know, and if you look at like writers, so if you're writing, again, books on philosophy, wisdom, guidance, help, that's ideas. If you're writing, you know, romance novels and detective novels and the biography of Donald Trump or Elizabeth Taylor, that's in artistry. Okay, so what other careers are in ideas? Teachers, unless you're just teaching people how to change your tire. Okay, but if you're actually teachers, yes, what else? Scientists. Huh? Researchers, yes? It's really hard to hear you from back there. Consultancy, you said. I'm sorry, it's just that there's a machine outside. So it's really difficult. It depends what you're a consultant about. So if you're a business consultant and you go into businesses and you're trying to teach them how to make more money and how to deal with their market, then no. Okay. Any other careers in this field? Astrologer, yes. Huh? Philosopher, yes. If you're full-time pujari, not something you do sometime on the weekend or, you know, but if that's your full-time work, yes. Astrologer, yes.
Priest.
Huh?
Priest.
A priest, minister, rabbi, imam, yes. Doctor, but not surgeons or dentists because they are considered like plumbers and carpenters. What'd you say?
I said with better salaries.
With better salaries, yes. Okay? So we're going to look at the temperament. The temperament of those suited for the field of ideas. Tell me something about the temperament.
Detached.
Very detached, yes. It's an unsentimental field. What else?
Abstract.
It's a much more abstract field. What's good philosophy and what makes a good philosopher is a lot harder to figure out than what's a good table and how do you become a good carpenter. It's much more abstract.
Satisfied.
Also very satisfied, like people in the field of artistry, but satisfied in a different way. These people are satisfied with mental and intellectual stimulation rather than simple comforts of life. In fact, they may not even be very interested in simple comforts of life. What else about the temperament of people suited for this field?
Straightforward, honest.
Very straightforward, honest. So unlike the honesty of artistry, where they're trying to please the customer, the honesty of ideas is I'm going to tell you the truth for your ultimate benefit, even if you don't want to hear it right now. You know, if you don't lose weight and stop smoking, you're going to die from, you know, I'm going to tell you something that you don't want to hear necessarily in a very straightforward way. Any other ideas about the temperament of this field? They're often systems thinkers, yes. And they're looking at systems not to control them, but to give guidance.
You see multiple realities.
Often can see nuances and see things in context because it's a very abstract field. Yes. What are the main questions they ask about their work? Is it true and is it wise? And if they have dharmic expertise, what are they willing to sacrifice for? Objective truth. Objective truth. Are all the intelligent people in the world in this field? No. Are there intelligent people in all four fields? Yes. But you do tend to have the intelligentsia, and the scholars tend to be in this field. And are all the jobs in this field intellectual jobs? Are they all intellectual jobs? No. There are many jobs in this field that are not intellectual jobs. You could be a teacher of 6-year-old children and not be an intellectual, and you would be in this field. I just can't. I can't. I just can't. I can't. I don't have time. I'm sorry.
It's about Dharmic.
Prabhu, I can't. I can't. I'm sorry. If you want to know what I mean by dharmic expertise, please see the video of the class I gave yesterday morning. What I'm teaching right now, I taught in depth on Saturday and Sunday. So each of these points I spent an hour to an hour and a half on that I'm now running through in 5 minutes. And so you can look back there and you can read the book. I'm sorry. This is a summary. And I'm supposed to end at 9. I probably will end at 9:05 as it is. Okay, we're looking now at the field of resources. Can you tell me this is the field that provides all the resources. They provide all the raw material for food, construction, clothing, medicine, and so forth. Can anyone tell me what careers are in this field? Business, if you're running a business, yes. Not a little tiny business. Like if you're a potter and you have a little shop to sell your pottery, that's in artistry. Right? But this is if you're really running a business. What else? Farmers? Yes. If you own the farm, not if you're picking the apples. What else?
Textile, producer.
If you any kind of business, so a textile business, yes. Anything else?
Banker.
Banker, not the tellers in the windows that give you your take your cash, but the people who run the bank, financial advisors, financial analysts, the people that sit at the tables, you know, when you sit with people at the tables and they help you with your mortgage or things like that. So all of those people in banks.
So traders also?
Yes, traders also. Yes. Okay. So, huh? It depends. In India, accountants are in the field of government. They act like lawyers. And it depends what you're doing as an accountant. Some accountants are just going to be in artistry. If you're actually giving financial advice and you're analyzing things and guiding people in that, then you'd be in resources. Okay, the temperament of people suited for the field of resources. Expansive. The Bhagavatam says they're always thirsty. Always wanting more. Why? Because they have to feed the world. They have to clothe the world. They have to house the world. They have to be expansive. What else is their temperament?
Non-sentimental.
Hmm?
Non-sentimental.
Non-sentimental, yes, it's an unsentimental field. What else?
Very detailed. They look into the details of the field.
They also have some degree of systems thinking, yes. It's really hard to hear people with that machine going. It's really annoying, by the way. So yeah, they also can look at systems, but they can look at systems of their work. You know, if they're a textile manufacturer, they're going to look at the systems related to, you know, where's cotton growing and what's the competition from linen and what's the competition from wool and what different kinds of cotton and how is it being shipped. So like that, they have that kind of systems thinking. What else is their temperament?
Being practical?
Very practical. It's an unsentimental field, yes.
Competitive?
Well, we're going to talk in a few minutes about competition in general.
The truth in their work is flexible.
The truth in their work is flexible. That's one of the most diplomatic ways of putting that they're diplomatic that I have so far heard. Yes. It's not a field of honesty, it's a field of diplomacy. So you don't go in a business, the businesses you go in, they don't say, this was our cost for this item. They don't say, this is how much we paid for the pipe, and this is how much we're selling it to you for. Whereas in artistry, they say, I paid 20 euros for the pipe, and I'm selling it to you for 20 euros, and I'm charging you for my labor separately. And advertisements are certainly not completely honest. Right? I guarantee you, if you buy that toothpaste, it doesn't mean you're going to get the beautiful girl. Oh, are you using that toothpaste? No, it's not, we don't expect it to be completely honest. Okay. Anything else you can tell me about the temperament?
The focused and a bit more concrete.
Okay, it's much more concrete than ideas, but more abstract than artistry. Because what makes a good business or a good business person may vary considerably from one country and culture to another. It's not quite as easy to define. Also remember, they want to put their oxygen mask on first. They've got to make sure that they're making money or else they can't feed the world. And they have to make sure there's a profit. Remember, these people certainly are generous, but they want to take care of themselves first. And remember, this field provides most of the employment, pays the bulk of the taxes, the bulk of the charity, and so forth. And what are the questions they ask about their work?
Is it enough?
Is it sustainable and regenerative? And this ties into profit. You cannot have a sustainable, regenerative business unless it's making a profit. You cannot give away all of your seeds. You have to save some to plant the next year. Okay, last one we're looking at is government. So government provides for justice, fairness, morals, ethics, protection, provides infrastructure. Each of us aren't going to go out and build our little piece of the road. You know, they're going to make the roads, the schools, the hospitals. They're going to provide all the things it's hard for people to provide for themselves. And this includes not just political governments, but also landlords who have like a little tiny government of their apartment complex, and also what we call non-government organizations that actually provide government-type services, or things that aren't related to a particular country like NATO and Interpol and the United Nations and things like that. So what are some careers in this field? Police, firefighters, managers of what?
Business manager.
Absolutely not. Business managers are in resources. Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Do we learn as much from wrong answers as from right answers? Yes. Woohoo. So yes, these people are the leaders of society. However, can you find leaders in all four fields? Yes. Can you find intelligent people in all four fields? Yes. So a manager of a business is a leader in resources. A coach of a football team is a manager in artistry. Someone running a school or a simple temple is a leader in ideas. So just because you're a leader, just because you're a manager, doesn't stick you in government. Although everyone in government is some aspect of a leader, even your police officer. Right? You see they have some aura of authority that they're carrying as doing government work. So everyone in the field of government has some aspect of leadership, even if they don't have so much of a positional leadership or charismatic leadership. They're leading society. Okay, any other jobs in government? Yes?
A firefighter. And I just want to add that the jobs don't make the varna of the person,
Yes.
sorry, the Sanskrit, but
Yes.
yeah. Because last time there was some confusions around that, I
Yes.
noticed.
Okay, so that's why we distinguish the work and the temperament. So what's supposed to happen is your work and your temperament. That's our first principle. Your work and your temperament is supposed to match. But it might not in our modern day and age. So you might have the temperament of ideas, but you're working in artistry. If you're working in artistry, you're not in the field of artistry by temperament. And you're going to, which we'll talk about in a moment, you're going to cause chaos. Like if you stick, a lung cell in the heart, it's going to cause chaos in the body. It's going to cause a problem in the body. Okay, any other jobs in the field of government? Lawmakers, yes. People in the Senate, the Congress, the legislature.
Any army?
Anything in the military, not the cooks in the military, but anybody fighting in the military.
Elected politicians.
Any elected politicians, any elected position. What else? Lawyers, judges. Yes. Okay. What is the temperament of people in the field of government? The temperament of people suited to the field of government. Risk. Yes, they actually thrive on crises. So while they do their best to preserve peace and harmony and avoid crises, when a crisis comes, they're energized and focused. They're very people-oriented. They like to serve people, but they serve people not like an assistant, like an artistry. They serve people more like a parent who says you can't have your ice cream till you eat your broccoli. Whereas in artistry, oh, you want ice cream? Here's your ice cream. Okay. What else can you tell me about the temperament of people suited for this field? Protective.
Just,
What?
maybe
Just.
expensive.
Expansive. They want to protect a lot of people in a big way. Tend to be more hierarchical, yes.
More abstract than artistry.
More abstract than artistry and government, less abstract than ideas. Yes. This is also a field of diplomacy. Think about a diplomat. If you're not diplomatic in the field of government, you are going to start a war. Okay, this is not a field of straightforward truth. What are the questions that they ask about their work? Is it just and is it honorable? And they're willing to sacrifice for fairness, justice. And people in this field are literally willing to sacrifice their eyes and their arms and their life for the sake of justice. All right, now Krishna says twice in the Bhagavad Gita, don't do someone else's work. Do the work that matches your temperament. If you have a temperament of resources, work in resources. You have a temperament of government, work in government. Don't go into someone else's path. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. And the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you do someone else's work, your work will become a bhayavaha. Your work will become a vehicle of fear. Like if you're trying to drive a boat on the road or a bicycle in the sky, it will be fearful for you and everybody else. And we looked about the harm and the benefit that come to us as individuals. Swa-dharma means our own work. Paradharma means someone else's work. When I do the work that matches my temperament, I will feel energized. I'll forget it's lunchtime. I won't want to go to bed. When I do work that's not my nature, I will feel strained, depleted. When's lunch? When's lunch? Yeah. Another 3 hours to lunch? Maybe I can take a break and do something else. When I do the work that's my own nature, my mind is my friend. My mind's working in harmony with me. When I'm doing work that's someone else's nature, my mind becomes my enemy. When I'm doing work that's my own nature, I'm naturally celebrating. I'm detached from the results. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I still need to get paid, but I'm thinking, if I didn't need to get paid, I would do it anyway. I'm detached from the results. Success, failure, happiness, distress, honor, dishonor. And let Krishna have the results. I'm happy with the work. When I'm doing someone else's work, the work doesn't satisfy me, and therefore I become very Attached. It becomes all about the money or the prestige or the facility and that. And I really can't surrender the results to Krishna. Okay, looking at principle 2, advancing through life while nourishing our nature. So there's a difference between having dharmic expertise in a field and an inclination. So our Shastras describe dharmic expertise in each field, but when we're trying to understand what field we're in, we want to look perhaps at a beginning inclination. Maybe we haven't been trained in the Dharma of our field. One way we can tell our inclination is that Krishna says our nature cannot be repressed. You may do someone else's work, but your nature is going to come through anyway. When we see in young people, that nature may come out in troublesome ways if they haven't yet been trained in the Dharma. Yeah, I have literally 15, 20 minutes. Sorry.
I'm thinking about Duryodhana. He was saying that's my nature, so why do you accuse me about anything? So that's...
Was it Duryodhana's nature to work in the field of government? Yes. Did he do it dharmically? No. He violated some of the other principles of Dharma. Was he in the right field? Yes, he was in the right field. Did he do it rightly? No. So I can be making a mistake because I'm in your house trying to enjoy your house as if it's mine and stealing your things. And I can also be in my house making a mess of things. I can be in my own house but leaving trash all over the floor and never washing the dishes and never repairing the plumbing. So that's another problem. So a lot of times we need to look at what is a person's nature that may not yet have been trained. Remember I talked about the guy who would do this in his class all the time and ended up being a drummer? And understanding how we're going to nourish our nature relates to how we advance naturally through life. So the idea is that when we're young, our nature should be ascertained. We should be trained in that nature so that by the time we're 18, 20 years old, we actually can know what is our career, where we should go. Then in the prime of life, we're working according to that nature, making a contribution to society. When we hit middle age, we can retire from working and guide others. And when we're at the very end of life, we have nothing to do with any of this, and we prepare for our final journey. All right, is that enough? No! Principle 3, if we want to find satisfaction and purpose in our work, we have to go beyond just being in the right place. We have to share. Krishna says in the 18th chapter that even the great souls have to give in charity. We have to share. We have to have a mood of giving. Now, karmically, how much money we have in our life is directly related to how charitable we were in our previous lives. And, interestingly enough, it also relates to how charitable we are in this life. Ha-ha! You're not just stuck with your past karma. There's a lot of evidence that people who give more charity in this life can end up being 6 times wealthier than those who don't give charity. Now, charity isn't just about money. Remember, we talked about the 6 types of prosperity. By the way, I'll share this PowerPoint. Just message me and I'll share you a copy. And we have the book as well. So we have a whole chapter on this. So this is just a little idea. Whatever prosperity we're enjoying, share it. I'm enjoying vairagya. How do I share that? I could volunteer to help people donate used clothing. I could volunteer to teach people about forgiveness and equanimity. If I'm enjoying Aishvarya, I can use my leadership ability in some kind of volunteer capacity. Whatever I'm enjoying in my life, I can share that with others. It's not just money. If you don't have a lot of money and you can't give a lot of money in charity, there's a lot you can still give. Without giving in charity, we become very selfish and self-centered. And those people aren't happy in their work. And I always give the example of Christmas. Why do businesses make so much money at Christmas time? Telling you to buy gifts for other people. There seems a kind of illogic with that. The other people might not like what I give them, and I might not like what I get. So why not spend all of that money just buying things that I want? Would that work? If the store said, take the 2,000 euros you've saved up for your Christmas shopping and spend it on yourself. Nobody would do it. We get far, far more pleasure by giving. And we will not find satisfaction in our work if we just make money and use it all for ourselves. Fourth principle, ethical and meaningful work of value. Our work needs to be honest. In other words, we should be charging a fair price for our goods and services, and we should be, if we have employees, we should be compensating them fairly as well. We should have fairness and honesty all along the line. And then our work should be providing real value for society. We should be providing something that people need. A lot of the stuff that's provided today, nobody needs at all. Or it's actually harmful, like, say, the tobacco industry. So our work shouldn't be harmful. I don't think we can absolutely avoid harm in the modern society. Somewhere down the road, we're using something in our work that involved some harm to somebody in Africa or China, maybe. But as far as possible, we should avoid being harmful and real value. Now, we can take this, we have a chapter called Esoteric Work of Value. We can have work that goes beyond providing something of value like toothpaste, and we can actually provide transcendent value. And this is such a wonderful thing to meditate on. We can provide value beyond what people karmically deserve. We can be an agent of real dynamic good in the world through our work. And this is something that my co-author and I call the cycle of frustration. That, okay, you follow your Dharma, you get your prosperity, from that you enjoy. But if it's just on the material platform, eventually you'll feel frustrated. And you'll want to change jobs, or you'll want to stop working, and that won't make you happy, and then you're going to go back to your Dharma. But above that is prema, or love. If we work with love for our work, love for the people we serve, or the animals, or the land, love for ourselves, and love for the divine, then we can actually be an agent of dynamic, ever-increasing good for someone, regardless of our job. Another way that our work should be ethical, surprisingly enough, is to work in our own field. As soon as we work out of our field, even if that work is seemingly ethical and honest and providing value for society, we intrinsically create harm in our work. And we talked about all these field crossings. When people with the mentality of resources do government work, they may try to profit out of government. When people with the mentality of government work in resources, their concept of social justice may mean that the business fails. We talked about when the government took over the farms in the former Soviet Union, and people died of famine. Crossing government and ideas. When people with the mentality of ideas work in government, they're going to tend to be too soft on crime. They're going to want to do a lot of research and not make decisions in a timely manner to benefit people. When people with the mentality of government work in ideas, they may tend to politicize knowledge. You can think of history books written by politicians. Or they may tend to impose a more hierarchical structure on ideas that stops the free flow of knowledge. When people with a mentality of ideas work in resources, they're not going to tend to have this expansive quality, and they're probably not going to feed and clothe the world. They also may feel that it's not ethical for them to be making money, and therefore they may just give things away. When people with the mentality of resources work in ideas, they may think it's unethical to do theoretical research that doesn't have any immediate financial gain, and they may reject that research. Or They may profitize knowledge. They may try to have knowledge, put out knowledge that is going to make more money for them rather than giving objective truth. When people with the mentality of artistry work in government, they're not going to be willing to run into a building with an active shooter because they're not people who are high risk takers. They're also going to struggle with the more abstractions of government, and they may not be able to make decisive decisions in what we call the fog of war. When people with the mentality of government work in artistry, they may find it very difficult to please customers or clients, and they may become insubordinate. They may also feel very frustrated that they're not able to work for justice, and they may become vigilantes or in some ways cause agitation in society, trying to get justice and fairness in a way that they can't do it directly. When people with the mentality of ideas work in artistry, we're going to have the same problem as government-minded people working in artistry. They're not going to want to please customers and clients, and they may be really bad workers. They may be insubordinate, they may miss deadlines. There's some way they're going to try to show their tendency towards freedom. They may dry up the field of artistry. They may be too detached to provide for the sensory pleasures of people in the world. When people with the mentality of artistry work in ideas, they may bring sensuality to knowledge, as if you were putting spices in the eyes of the world. Or they may just think, what is all this theoretical study? It's like crossword puzzles. You know, they may not see the value of it, and they may neglect it. Or they may be corrupted by their natural desire to please and to have basic comforts in life. When people with the mentality of resources work in artistry, they're going to want to make more money faster. And therefore, they're going to be at odds with that basic dharma of resisting making more money faster and preserving the craft. So they may automate craft. They'll destroy the craft if they work in that kind of a field. They may take away the inspiration of entertainment and replace it with lots of sex and violence just to make more money. When people with the mentality of artistry work in resources, they're not going to be expansive. They're happy to have a little bakery, but they're not going to give out bread to the world. And not having that sustainable, regenerative mood, they might not take proper care of resources and have businesses that are causing pollution. And in this way, as soon as we work out of our field, our work becomes intrinsically unethical. Now we're going to progress to dharmic mastery. Now here's what Duryodhana didn't do. He didn't take delight in cherishing our prosperity and field of work. Whatever prosperity we get, we're getting from nature. We're getting from Mother Nature. If we don't cherish our prosperity, it's like cutting off the head of the goose who laid the golden egg, or cutting off the branch that gives us fruit. Our first source of prosperity is our own body and mind. We should not do work that's physically, mentally, emotionally harmful to ourselves. Or we're cutting off our own source of prosperity. And what about people that we work with, our colleagues, our employers? We shouldn't be harming them physically. And we shouldn't be harming them emotionally. We should be taking care. They're also our source of prosperity. This means also engaging them according to their natures. Yeah? And we should be taking care of the environment, which is also our source of prosperity. And then cherishing the integrity of the kind of prosperity we enjoy. Now, if we're going to put this in devotee language, this would mean that we're enjoying our prosperity as prasadam instead of bhoga. So let's say we enjoy yasha in our work. So we want to make sure that we don't ask people to respect us when we've made a mistake. We make sure we keep our integrity. If we're enjoying vairagya in our work, we don't want to be so detached that we don't care about anybody. We still want to sacrifice for the good of others. If I'm enjoying aishvarya in my work, I want to help other people also to be leaders. I want to empower others. I don't want to go in a room as the big controller, overpowering others. I want to empower others. And then maintaining the integrity of your field. So our big problems in the world today are people working in the wrong field or people working in the right field that are not cherishing their prosperity and field of work. How do you cherish the field of artistry? Treat your customers and clients with respect. Keep high quality in your craft. How do you cherish the field of government? Make sure you put serving people first. Don't try to make a profit out of government. You're trying to make a profit out of government, you're in the wrong field. Treat all your citizens equally with equal justice. Take care of everyone's needs. Don't have special interests. How do you cherish the field of government? The field of resources, you've got to protect the resources. It's especially the people in the field of resources that have to protect the land, the water, the air, and animals. Make sure your prices are fair. These are the main employers. Make sure you're taking care of your employees. Make sure your financial dealings are honest. The diplomacy in this field doesn't mean you can cheat with money. If you're working in the field of ideas, make sure that truth is applied beneficially. Make sure you're always neutral, impartial, and objective. Be careful that other people can't control you financially to push you to skew truth. Respect other people's expertise in their own level of knowledge. This is a very short list. We have a whole chapter going into, we give historical examples, and we give a lot of references, and we go into much more detail. Principle 6, celebrate the sacred in our life and work. So in the Bhagavad Gita 3:16, Krishna says, Evam pavaritam chakram. Chakra is a wheel, and a wheel is, Prabhupada has a lecture on this. He says this wheel is always moving. So plants and animals take from nature and give back to nature. We have to do it intentionally. Prabhupada says we should pay our electric bill to the sun. So we need to take out some time to actually connect with our source. However one understands that. If one understands the source as God is the body of the universe, or one understands our source as the great undifferentiated energy, or as the Father, the Creator, the Witness, or as the supreme, wonderful, playful being, Lord Sri Krishna. However one understands the divine, we need to regularly give back to our source, to take some time out of our work and out of our life to connect, with the idea that then we will be connected at every moment. And our last individual principle is that people should work above the shades of ego. So here we have tamas, sattva, and rajas. These are all different varieties of ego that entangle us in our work. They're obstacles in our work. So again, our problems in society are people are doing the wrong work, or they're not cherishing their field of work, or they're really, as my co-author likes to say, moded out. Interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, Krishna says, Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna, get above these shades of ego. So why do we call them shades? Tamas is like a dark covering over the window. You can't see anything. Rajas is like a clear, like a sheer curtain where you can see light, but not clearly. You can't see the forms. Sattva is like a window without any curtains. And being above the shades is like being outside. So I'm going to introduce you briefly to these guys. I'm Thomas. I only do things if it's easy, you know? Like, I'll buy a plant-based burger if they sell it at McDonald's for the same price. But don't expect me to go to another restaurant, pay a higher price. You know, I'm the kind of person, whatever's on television, if my remote control's over there, I'm just going to watch the next thing, you know? Like, I'm not an ambitious person, yeah, and I'm not a woo spiritual person. I take care of my family, you know? Don't insult them. Don't insult my group. And I can insult you back. I am Rajas. I am righteous. I am hardworking. I am sacrificing. I have built the hospitals, schools, and roads of society. I have provided for the culture of society. You see all my possessions? I've earned every one of them with my hard work and sacrifice. And I will tell you how many hours I worked and how much I sacrificed and how much trouble I went through for all of them. I'm not a lazy person, and I'm not some spiritual person. And someday, my name will be in the history books, and my statue will be in the park. Then we have Sattva. I am Sattva. I am very spiritual. I am forgiving. I live in harmony with the world because it makes me feel so good inside. I see everyone equally, not like those materialistic people. I'm not lazy, and I'm not ambitious. I have a shelf full of angels and crystals. So we want to be above these shades. When we're above these shades, then we see life as an adventure with the divine. We see life as a playful adventure that we don't know how it's going to turn out, and we're co-creators in this wonderful dance with the divine. These shades are like the dark side of our work. They can capture us and pull us into the wrong mentality. Let's look at the shades in charity. So in Thomas, I give the wrong thing to the wrong person. You know, I give alcohol to an alcoholic. Or I give the right thing to the right person, but without respect. Take your charity. Right? Or at the wrong time when they're on the toilet. In Rajas, I give the right thing to the right person at the right time with respect, but I'm calculating what can I get back. In Sattva, I give the right thing at the right time to the right person because it makes me feel happy. And above the shades, I give the right thing at the right time to the right person to make Krishna happy. If I'm going to work above the shades, this is Bhagavad Gita 3:30. 3 things to do, 3 things not to do. What not to do? Don't try to exploit my prosperity types. Don't think I'm an owner. I'm not the owner of my talents, my work, my wealth, and not be lazy or crazy. 3 things to do. Dedicate everything to the ultimate source. Always remember that I am not this body and mind. I am not this work. I am not this psychophysical nature. I am a spiritual being and work according to my nature. So now we've looked at the individual principles. Now we're going to look at the 2 principles for society. Very briefly, we have a whole section of the book on this. So principle 8 is societal balance, cooperation between the fields, and competition within the fields. So the fields need to cooperate with each other. Someone asked me a question over the weekend about cooperation. So ideas, trains, and guides. Government approves licensing, accreditation, provides proper venues and facilities. Resources provides the resources, the money and the raw material. Artistry acts as an assistant and also translates things from the other fields into artistic endeavor. Now, it would be lovely if everybody worked in their right field and everybody cherished their field and nobody was under the shades of ego, but that's not always going to happen. So we need some checks and balances. Ideas holds government to the rule of law. Think about the role of a free press. Government, of course, makes and enforces laws. Resources decides how and where they're going to spend their money. Artistry decides what they're going to translate into artistic expression. Now, competition, you talked about being competitive. There should be competition within the fields, but not between the fields. Prabhupada said competition gives life. So we would all like to do our best for its own sake, But competition reminds us of the limits of our abilities, where we can actually push our abilities. It inspires us to try to do better than we think that we can do. Now, this competition should be friendly competition, like a jewelry district or a fashion district that benefits both the businesses and the consumer. It shouldn't be trying to erase your competition or be a predator of your competition. It shouldn't be envious. Competition in artistry gives us masterpieces and inventions. Competition in resources gives us better quality of resources, better means of distribution. Competition in government. Think of the benefit that we have of different kinds of government in the world. Often in one country, like India or America, there may be different forms of government in different states, and people can choose what form is best for them. Competition in ideas helps keep the purity of research, science, and religion, and keeps it, how would you say, responsive to time, place, and circumstance. The last principle is all-inclusive, sustainable prosperity. Modern economists made a deliberate, conscious decision to separate economic theory from natural resources. And they propounded the idea that economic prosperity equals economic growth. What's wrong with that? Prosperity is equal to economic growth. What's wrong with that? It's not sustainable. Why? Resources are limited. You cannot have unlimited growth on a limited planet. And if we identify economic prosperity with economic growth, we're going to be forcing. We're going to be forcing the land. We're going to be forcing the animals. We're going to be forcing distribution, and we're going to be forcing people. Therefore, our last principle is all-inclusive, sustainable prosperity. Everyone should be able to enjoy their prosperity types, be able to be in their right field of work. We shouldn't have some people with $250 billion and other people who can't eat one meal a day. So we looked at identifying our ideal career field and prosperity type, going beyond that to learning the secrets of making our work deeply meaningful, beyond that to Dharmic mastery, and we looked at the whole system for peace and prosperity, and you can understand why I had no time for questions. So, thank you, those of you who are willing to stay a little past time to the end. If you would like more information about what we're doing in Career Dharma, you can sign up for our mailing list. We're about to release an audiobook. We'll let you know when that's out. We're also very soon going to release a full online interactive course on Career Dharma. We'll give you notice of that. We also plan to have a course in about a year training people to be consultants and coaches in Career Dharma. We'll let you notice of that. We'll only give you like probably 2 or 3 emails a year if you sign up for this. And if you want to just capture the QR code, you can capture it there. So thank you very much. Anything good in this presentation is due to Srila Prabhupada. Any mistakes in this presentation are mine. Do not even blame my co-author. And I hope that you got some benefit out of this and that you can excuse any of the faults. Always nice to see you, Dr. It's always nice to see you. I want you here now. Wow.
I stayed in Radhadesh each year, 2-3 month period. But the rules are that you can't stay more than 90 days. Why go out?
But don't you have to have a 90-day break before you come back?
So that's what I do tonight.
So you don't go the rest of the day? This is the only place in China that you come?
Yes, usually I'm here, but I go to other places in Europe while I'm here.
Well, so you might take like a 2 or 3 day trip.